It's the Daylight Midnight Show.
Hello and welcome to the Daylight Midnight Show. My name is Greg and yet again it is as dull outside as 9 p.m. on a January Thursday. So I've got lots of lights on, including the main light in front of me that's glaring at me is actually an anti-sad light that I bought a few years ago. And for anyone who might be prone to little spells of winter depression when the nights are very dark, I can recommend it very, very highly. And we'll find out today whether it works as a studio light as well. So a rhyming couplet to start the show then. Christmas is coming. The goose is getting fat, but soon he might get bird flu, and that's the end of that. I told you I was struggling to come up with rhyming couplets at the start of the show. So let's do our quiz then. We need DM, the Daylight Midnight Monkey, who's going to guard our expensive display cabinet, which will be showing the answer to this week's mystery object question clue. Blimey. Bigger than a cat, smaller than a cow, and you might see one around a farmyard. So don't forget, because the parts of the clue begin with the letter C, it means the answer also begins with the letter C, and you're looking for something that begins with a C and could be the answer to this riddle. Bigger than a cat, smaller than a cow, and you might see one around a farmyard. Now, speaking of animals that begin with C, we have a name for our clownfish. Last week I finally put up a poster of the official fish of the Daylight Midnight Show, which is a clownfish, and I asked for you to send me suggestions of nicknames that we could give him. They included Chips, Stripe, Kevin and Pogo 2 in reference to our other mascot, Pogo Dave Penguin. But the one I've gone for, which was actually suggested by 2 or 3 different people, being a fan of The Simpsons, I've agreed that this should now be called Krusty the Clownfish. Fantastic. In fact, let's make that official by writing it on there now. Now, because Clownfish starts with a C, should the Krusty also start with a C? Or should we go with the Simpsons reference and start it with a K? I think it should be a K. So, perfect, my pen is running out. I'll do that before next week's show. But we now can make it official that the official fish of the Daylight Midnight Show is now Krusty the Clownfish, and there he is adorning the Door of Delights. Right, the Cartoonimator then, which now has its own theme song. I didn't have a shave today, but I might have one later. Let's see what gets thrown out by Greg's Cartoonimator. God, that's out of tune. So the Cartoonimator kind of sucks in all my energy and mental thoughts throughout the week, and it comes up with a drawing that it puts inside itself that I can then show you, and we pin it up on the Door of Delights, and I tell you how it's relevant to the past 7 days in my life. So this week's cartoon from the Cartoonimator is this. In reference to the fact that since we last spoke, the World Cup has started over in Qatar. That's my terrible drawing of the World Cup of football and a little match in progress there. I've never watched 4 football matches in one day before, but I'm really tempted to try and do it, just because it doesn't happen very often, and it is happening at the moment. So if I can spare the time, I want to sit down and watch all 4. And I did have all 4 on yesterday when I was writing this show, but I wasn't concentrating on the matches, and I think I have to sit and watch all 4 matches. And then I can say I've watched 4 matches and I'll report back to you next week and see if I've done it. Now, following on from that, something I have done, because this is the kind of thing that I like to do to spend some time, I have ranked all 32 World Cup shirt emblems. That's the country logos that appears on the corner, this section here of their football shirts. I've done it for all 32 teams at the World Cup, and I'm going to give you my top 8 in a sort of grade 8 countdown fashion. You know, the England one is like 3 lions with footballs on as well. So I decided to do all of them that are appearing at the World Cup this year. So just to give you some information on how I did it, I downloaded the images from the BBC Sport website because some different websites were showing slightly different ones with different colour schemes, and I wanted it to be exactly the same reference point that I was using, so they all came from the BBC Sport website. I discounted anything that had a TM or an R attached to it. So if you're going to trademark or register the trademark of your country's emblem, you're going to be off my list. And then I used these criteria that I marked them on. So how strong does it stand up as an image on its own? So quite similar to what I did with the flags. How much would I like this picture to be up on my wall in my bedroom? Connection to the country itself or the soccer team itself. So something to do with the flag or the name of the country, something to connect that image to the country you're representing, and a connection to football to show that it's a football team rather than any other sports team. So using those criteria and spending far too much time on it than I should have done, I've come up with my top 8 then, based on those. So I hope these come out quite well. I've had to print them off quite small. But coming in position 8, we have this, which is the crest of Croatia. I don't know what the HNS stands for, but obviously it's in the Croatian language. But it has a football on it. It's the right shape to be a football crest on a shirt, and the red and white checks are the colours that they play in. So it's a strong start, but it only came in at number 8 on my list. In 7th place, we are paying our first visit to the continent of Africa, and thinking about it and looking at them again now, I might have placed this even higher because we have the crest of Cameroon. The reason I like this, it reminds me of a traditional English football club crest because it's got the proper shield shape. They quite often have this little adornment at the bottom with a bit of Latin on it. And apart from that, it says Cameroon, it's got the flag colours and it's got a football as well. So I think I'm going to stick with what I've said, but I might have placed that even higher based on the criteria that I used. Coming in just ahead of that in position 6, this doesn't come out very well in the way that I've printed it, but we have the crest of South Korea, which if you look at it on a computer full size, is a really strong image that looks lovely up on the wall or as a tattoo. And you can't see it, but it does actually have the word Korea in blue underneath it. For some reason it printed it with this black outline, which doesn't do it a lot of favours, but it scored very high on the strength of image for me, and that came in at position 6. In number 5, we're going to pop back to Africa, and we have the crest of Ghana. And based on what I said to you about why I like these and how I'm ranking them, there's a big football in the middle of it, so you know it's a football team. It says Ghana Football Association around the outside. It's got the flag of Ghana incorporated into it. And another reason I really like this is when it is on the chest here, it looks like they're wearing a medal, which would have given it bonus points if I was handing out bonus points. In position 4, I'm quite upset with myself that I did this, but based on how I was feeling at the time, we have the United States of America coming in position number 4. And what I like about this is it has the country's colours from the flags. This blue has come out a bit dark, but it does look like the same colours as the flag. It has the name of the country there, so you know exactly who you're looking at. And I like the fact that they've sort of twisted the horizontal flags, horizontal stripes from the Stars and Stripes. They've put vertically here. I like it. The only thing missing is no reference to an actual football. Otherwise, that might have scored even higher. But that came in position 4. So we are into our top 3. And in 3rd place, we have a very simple image in a way, but a great image. Again, this would look lovely on the wall, or as a crest on a shield, or as a tattoo. If there was a ball in this somewhere, it might have even won. In position 3, we have the crest of Wales. It doesn't look so good on a white background here. On the shirt, they wear a bright red shirt. So with that, with the red behind it, looks even better. So I placed that in position 3. Our runner-up position, number 2. This is actually my favourite image, but I'll explain why it didn't win in a moment. So this is the crest of Saudi Arabia. It's a falcon because they are known as the Green Falcons, but it's not very clear to me what SAFF stands for. So if you saw this without any reference to the World Cup, you might think this is just a logo for an airline or some kind of internet business. What I do like is the fact that it is shaped like a football, and the way they've done this sort of feathering effect on the falcon, it's almost like the panels on an old style football. So that came very close to winning for me, but this, not sure what this stands for. No connection to Saudi Arabia unless you look it up, means it only finished in runners-up position. Because our winner, which surprised me, but based on everything we have said, this contains the colours of the national flag, it contains the name of the country they represent, it has a strong animal, which always lifts it up in my opinion, and it contains a football, making it obvious what sport you are looking at. The winner of my selection of the best crests on display at the FIFA World Cup 2022, congratulations to Mexico. And I think that needs to be up on the door of delights. Now, do I make it... We're out of time. Because we're out of time, because I'm still catching up from running over a couple of weeks ago, I'll leave that till next week. So we could have that there, but you're not going to see it very well. So I'm going to enlarge that into a bigger image, and I will put that on the door of delights for next week. So remind me if I forget. So we're running over time, so let's get on with it. Outfit roulette then, determining what I'm going to be wearing next week using the randomness of the Rubik's Cube and the wall chart. We'll start with blue, which I think is a t-shirt for the 3rd week in a row. Whoops, that nearly hit the camera. From the 2nd column, we'll be wearing whatever is in, that is in orange, and orange is my fluorescent jacket. And that's bright and it's very colourful and it messes up the camera, but we'll go for that anyway. And accessorising all that, we're back in blue, which is braces. So I'll be wearing a t-shirt with braces with a big fluorescent jacket over the top. Oh, DM, you failed me. Where did he go? I obviously knocked him down at some point. Sorry, old friend. So, your quiz question was, it's bigger than a cat, it's smaller than a cow, and you might see one around a farmyard, and if you get the answer to this correct, you award yourself a prize from your own cupboards. Well done to you if you worked out that this week's mystery object was a cockerel, which also ties into the FIFA World Cup because the French have a cockerel on their crest. I'll see you next week. Have a great 7 days.